Hello everybody! Welcome to today's video where I will be reviewing Into the Glades by Sebastian. I do have a blog post for this, so well, it's a great transition to what I'm going to say next, but I will be linking the blog post in my description if you are interested in reading that. I usually go off script here, but my written reviews are a whole lot more structured than my video reviews. So if you're interested in that, in a more structured version of that, I will leave my my post link below. Consider subscribing to my blog if you want to see more of my writing. I don't just do book reviews. I also publish some of my creative writing there, including some poetry. So yeah, and even creative nonfiction. So yeah, keep consider subscribing if you're definitely up for it. Also consider subscribing to my channel and turning on notifications. That way you get notified anytime I release a new video. And before you watch the video, I do give this in the video itself, but I want to give the content warning again. Post-production, just in the beginning in general. There is a content warning for this book for loss of a parent. So if you are going through that, or if you don't want to read about that, please take care of yourselves. And now for the review. All right, it is time. I'm very excited for this review because I remember making videos about it. I think I made at least 2 Planned Anticipates videos on this, and I am pretty excited to finally review it. So today, I will be reviewing a middle grade book. I have reviewed middle grade books before, or at least what I may consider middle grade. When it came to the Dragon Prince, I think the Dragon Prince is written, it might actually be lower than middle grade, but it feels like it might be middle grade. So, because the character is like 10, so I'm not sure. But for now, let's just go with the synopsis. I don't have much to say about this book except that there is a content warning for loss of a parent. So be aware of that before, if you choose to read this book. So, okay. A fantasy adventure about 4 friends who journey through a magical Everglades-inspired swampland to break a curse tied to the death of a loved one. Best friends Cordelia and Larkin have always called the Glades a peaceful swamp full of magical creatures home. But when Osiris, Cordelia's father and the leader of their village, dies unexpectedly, a dark curse sweeps over the land. The girls know that the curse must be tied to Osiris's death, and they're determined to break its hold on their home and bring Osiris back to life. Together, Cordelia, Larkin, and their 2 little brothers set off into the wild glades in search of an elusive and enigmatic witch who is rumored to have the power to reverse death. The glades are no longer a familiar and friendly place, though, and danger lurks around every corner. But on their journey, the children discover that the most difficult challenge isn't wild marsh maids or bogelisks, I think that's how you pronounce it, or dragon gators. It's the grief threatening to consume them. So as you can see, yeah, it's if you I think my title for this, I do remember the title I have for this, and the way I compared this book was like a magical bridge to Terabithia. If you have read the book, I don't know, I haven't read the book in a couple of years, but it reminded me of Bridge to Terabithia, except in an entirely different way. I actually want to reread it now after reading this book. But but there is a reason I think I kind of decided to name it that way. Um, I think this book, first of all, was written really really well. I definitely enjoyed the this book. I had a lot of I read it in 2 days. I did enjoy reading it. I actually, fun fact, read it throughout my workouts. I do need to go back to working out, but I read it throughout some of my workouts. That was like my companion for my workouts for 45 minutes. That was the book, and then I kept it reading because I had other things I needed to do, so I read it throughout. I read it through 2 days of workout, and the second day I was actually cooking as well. So it was a lovely companion, and I knew that I was going to be walking into a book dealing with grief, which is really interesting for me because, um, as of the time of recording, a couple of months earlier, I lost my grandmother. So when reading this, I kind of very recently left my own grieving stage. Of course, I miss her, but I kind of finished processing my grief a couple of months earlier, and I processed it through another book, not dealing with grief, but it was a book that dealt with uh, it was a short story collection. I did I re- did I review it here? No, I did not review it in the channel, but I did review it in the blog. Difficult Women. I will link the post below. I did link it in I did review the blog, so I'll link it in the description. But it's a story that a short story collection that tells the story of many um, of different women and their lives, and also some of them with their difficult personalities. And I found that to be very helpful. The year before, I lost, in 2021, I lost a cousin of mine to COVID, among other health issues, it seems, but it was kind of the COVID vaccine um, that kind of pushed the health issues to the top. And due to that, I read a book that week. That is also how I dealt with my grief that week. I read a book, and that book did actually focus on grief. I remember, I think I mentioned it in the review. Actually, I it was The Ghosts We Keep by Mason Deaver. So interestingly enough, books have helped me deal with grief. So it's been very interesting to kind of read this book after these different losses. So my experience was shaped slightly different, but overall, though, yeah. So it was really interesting to read the books in this, knowing this, and the fact that they were younger. A couple of them were close to my age when I lost my great grandfather. I dealt with some grief at that time too, and I know how hard it can be. So it was really interesting to read it, knowing that perspective. I think, first of all, the prose was amazing. So was the pacing. The chapters, by the way, even though the book is 304 pages, the chapters are really 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 short. So you can probably read it in at least a couple of days. Definitely a couple of sittings. I went through with the audiobook, and I found this to be really well written. It is Sebastian's debut middle grade book, but it is also their second standalone novel. Their first being Half Stick of Shadows. So I'll be linking the Laura Sebastian playlist below, so you can kind of see. I have plenty of videos with their work. Um, so I have plenty of videos, so you can see my thoughts, my reviews, my plan anticipates. All of that will be in that playlist. You can see everything. But I heavily enjoyed this middle grade novel. I think they did a really good job with the prose, the pacing, and the characters. The characters were very lovable. I like the way that the magic works and the world building around it. I also really like the way they portray grief. It can be very strong and very, very powerful. And for children especially, it can be very, it's like, I don't want it I don't want this, I didn't want this to happen. So it's like a denial. You go through the all the stages of denial and acceptance, and all the stages that you're in. You go through the stages, and I think that the stages were portrayed quite well for them. And even at the end, they also learn some hard life lessons, that it is possible that, for them to go separate ways, and also that they can um they can just do a couple of different, they learned a bunch of different lessons. I don't want to spoil the book, actually, so I'm trying to go around without spoiling it. So I enjoyed the in general the story. I also really, one of the things I like is, specifically with the magic, is how or with the land in general, and the magical creatures, it's how attuned they were to the grief. So what was really interesting is that it wasn't just the curse itself, it's just that the land was sick. And it's really interesting how attuned the land was to Osiris, and how, one good thing can, one of the things that the book's messaging goes for is kindness, and how one kind deed can be really important, even if you may not see it that way. It kind of reminded me a little of, and I'm gonna take a shot when I mention these, because I will probably mention it a lot. I'm joking, please don't do that. But it reminded me of the assassin and the healer part of The Assassins, played by Sarah J. Maas, where we see Selena do something very kind for Irene when she gives her the money to go to the Torre Chesme. And she ends up going, but at the end, the one thing that really, really encourages her is that one note that tells her, it's like, for where we need to go and then some, the world needs more healers. And I think it was kind of great, because this kind thought, in a lot of the kindness that Selena showed to other people, later came back to help her, and all the threads just came together, and they ended up just helping her at the end in Kingdom of Ash, the when she needed them. And it kind of reminded me like that, just because Osiris was always telling them to be kind, and that magic is its own kind of kindness. And at the end, that turned out to be the case, because it wasn't just the children grieving Osiris, it was also the land that grieved him. And because the land grieved him, you have so the land was also dealing with their grief the same way that children were. And they kind of, the children in the land sort of helped each other out. More specifically, the children helped out the glades deal with its grief. And I thought that was a really beautiful thing. It was very, very, very well written, very, very adorable. One of the things I really liked about it at the end too was we have a couple of chapters after the children like helped both the Heart Tree and the Marsh Maids and the Dragon Gator and all that stuff. I love the way that one of the things I like is that we got these short chapters in the point of view of those they helped in the land. I thought that was really interesting and very creative. I enjoy it. It reminded me a little of my own writing in a way. I liked I have a house as a character, and I write their point of view. And I really mean there, because the pronouns I chose to use when I wrote the house is they them. I don't know, it just felt right. Instead of it just felt right. So that is what I wrote. And I like it, it kind of works. So I did enjoy it a lot. I'm pretty sure I gave it 5 stars. Let me check. Hold on. Let me check my Goodreads. I have my Goodreads open, but let me see. I'm pretty sure I gave it 5 stars because I think it was really well written, and it had like it had a great story, and yep, 5 stars. Honestly, I've given pretty much every Laura Sebastian book I read 5 stars, so I get it's not really that shocking. So yeah, I think it's well written. It portrays grief very well, and I think it gives it gives the children a great arc. Each of these characters has an amazing arc. So I definitely enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I'd love to discuss this. Please leave it spoiler free, but if you are going to use spoilers, make sure you put that in the comments if you're going to use spoilers. So, but let me know in the comments. I'd love to discuss. Oh.
Speech unmuted. Enter password. You are currently...
No.
QuickTime player. Movie recording. Window. Stop.
Sorry about voiceover.
Hey, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. Again, a blog post of this review is linked in the description, as well as my Laura Sebastian playlist if you want to watch more content of all the books I have reviewed by this author. It is there for you to peruse and enjoy. I also have linked my other series, such as Blind Reviews, which is this one. I also am linking my Blind React series, Blind Anticipates, Blind Recommends, Blind Vlogs, Blind Stories, and so on. So you will definitely visit the description for links. If you are interested in my writing, consider subscribing to my blog. I do not just write book reviews. I also share some creative work, including poetry, and creative nonfiction. So enjoy all of that. And if you like my videos here, consider subscribing and turning on notifications so that you get notified every time I release a new video. So yeah, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Until then, consume stories. Bye!